77 WABC invites you to a family fun day and softball showdown on July 20th with net proceeds benefiting Shriners Children's. John Sterling will call the game as the FDNY takes on the NYPD with special guests Dwight Gooden, Art Shamsky, 77 WABC hosts, including Sid Rosenberg, Anthony Cumia, Lionel, Dominic Carter, and many more. For more info and to buy tickets, go to ShrinersChildren'sChampions.org. That's ShrinersChildren'sChampions.org. The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
One of the little girls from our school, thankfully, praise the Lord, was found. She floated on a mattress for 3 hours yesterday morning, and we just got the text notice that she survived, and we've located her and that she's safe and sound. So we're hoping for stories like that, but obviously we're deeply concerned about the remaining little girls that we've not found.
The news has been tragic most of the weekend. That was a bright spot. Of course, that was our friend Chip Roy, Representative Chip Roy, whose district a lot of this is happening in. We talked about it over the weekend. The news on it has significantly grown worse since then. The last estimate that I saw released a few moments ago suggests that so far 95 people have perished that they know of, and dozens more are missing. Still, of course, we have learned that many of the girls attending that Christian school, 27 of them, many of them, initially it was 27 missing. Most of them have already been sadly found, and they have not survived. So it is a tragedy that is still gripping the nation. And the accusations, of course, from the left, the vile nature of some of the conversation that some Americans choose to devolve into are also stunning, and some of them could be quite upsetting. Let us begin, perhaps, with this one. Carlos, let's go to cut 2. ABC News, George Stephanopoulos, and just listen at this, because this is kind of the tone that some of the news organizations and some in social media have taken, and this is mild now compared to what we've been exposed to as a nation.
Maria, we're also learning that there were significant staffing shortfalls at the National Weather Service's offices in the region.
You know, George, as of right now, the local county officials really didn't want to address that just yet. What they are telling us is they expected between 4 and 6 inches of rain. That is what weather experts told them, the National Weather Service as well. They also knew that in remote locations, they might get anywhere from 8 to 10 inches. But this amount of rain in such a short amount of time, it was very difficult to navigate. And when the Department of Homeland Security Secretary was here just yesterday, she acknowledged this was an issue. She was going to take these concerns to the White House as well and try and see if there was anything they could do to revamp the system. She says the president is committed to it.
Maria, thanks very much.
While that story was being broadcast suggesting that Donald Trump and the Trump administration were responsible for this due to cuts, let's just face facts, that's what they're trying to project. The AP had a story out at the same moment, and I printed that story. I've just reprinted it today. And one of the things that it says in this story, the National Weather Service sent out a series of flash flood warnings in the early hours Friday before issuing flash flood emergencies, a rare alert notifying of imminent danger. When the warnings began is a subhead on this story. An initial flood watch, which generally urges residents to be weather aware, was issued by the local National Weather Service office at 1:18 p.m. on Thursday. So the day before, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, shortly after 1:15 in the afternoon, there was an initial flood watch that was issued by the local National Weather Service. Now, that local office of the National Weather Service predicted between 5 to 7 inches of rain. Weather messaging from the office, including automated alerts delivered to mobile phones to people in the threatened areas, grew increasingly ominous in the early morning hours of Friday, urging people to move to higher ground, to evacuate flood-prone areas, said Jason Runyon, a meteorologist in the National Weather Service office. At 4:03 in that morning, the office issued an urgent warning that raised the potential of catastrophic damage and severe threat to human life. Jonathan Porter, the chief meteorologist at AccuWeather, a private weather forecasting company that uses National Weather Service data, said it appeared evacuations and other proactive measures could have been undertaken to reduce the risk of fatalities. Businesses, people, government should take action based on flash flood warnings that are issued regardless of the rainfall amounts that have occurred or are forecast, he said in a statement. Officials say they didn't expect this. They didn't expect it. Local officials said that they had not expected such an intense downpour. Now, Kerrville, which is where a lot of this happened, City Manager Dalton Rice said he was jogging along the river early in the morning, didn't notice any problems. At 4 a.m. in the morning, a little over an hour later, 5:20 a.m., the water level had risen dramatically. We were almost not able to get out of the park, he says. Rice noted that the public can become desensitized to too many weather alerts, weather warnings. Subtitle in the AP story: No county flood warning system. Listen very carefully to this, folks. Kelly said the county, this is a judge down there, considered a flood warning system along the river that would have functioned like a tornado warning siren about 6 or 7 years ago, before he was elected. But that the idea never got off the ground because of the expense of it. It's too expensive. We looked into it before the public reeled at the cost. He said he didn't know what kind of safety and evacuation plans the camps may have had. What I do know is the flood hit the camps first, and it came in the middle of the night. I don't know where the kids were. I don't know what kind of alarm systems they had. It will all come out in time. Now, to the key point. Play that Stephanopoulos thing one more time, just the beginning, because I want to address that exact point from ABC News, George Stephanopoulos.
Maria, we're also learning that there were significant staffing shortfalls at the National Weather Service's offices in the region.
All right, stop. The National Weather Service office in New Braunfels, which delivers the forecast for Austin, San Antonio, and the surrounding areas, had extra staff on duty during the storms. Where the office would have typically had 2 forecasters on duty during clear weather, they had up to 5 on staff. There were extra people in here that night, and that's typical in every weather service office. You staff up for an event and bring people in on overtime and hold people over. I hope the administration is in touch with the lawyers. Apparently, some people over at that network haven't learned their lesson yet. Now, that's some of the media class. Let me give you just one example of the left-wing anti-MAGA class. Cut number 3. This woman, this entertainer, this celebrity type, fled the United States and lives in Ireland. And this is what she has to say about it.
And what a horror story in Texas. The flash floods in Texas, the Guadalupe River. 51 missing, 51 dead, more missing. Children at a camp. And you know, when the president guts all of the early warning systems and the weathering forecast abilities of the government, these are the results that we're going to start to see on a daily basis, because he's put this country in so much danger by his horrible, horrible decisions and this ridiculously immoral bill that he just signed into law. As Republicans cheered, people will die as a result, and they've started already. Shame on him. Shame on every GOP sycophant who's listening and following the disastrous decisions of this mentally incapacitated POTUS.
I'll tell you who's mentally incapacitated, whose incapacitation is apparently fueled by TDS, a derangement that lays to hate and on the brain all the time. Miss O'Donnell, Rosie O'Donnell, has been on this now for years. No, my friends, if you voted Republican, you are not to blame for these people's death. Nothing was gutted. In fact, you just heard the real news is that people were, in fact, called in so that the Weather Service would be not just staffed, but fully staffed. Extra people brought in. But yet you get their media outlets and you get these beings on the left that cannot hold back from putting in politics, their hatred for the big, beautiful bill, and rolling it all up into these charges that Trump, and by extension you that voted for him, are responsible for the deaths of children. And that, by the way, there were other adults. She was wrong about the numbers, which is, that's excusable. The news story is still going on. Now we're almost at 100 people that have died in this horrific event. And many lives were lost. That doesn't even count the racist, the leftists that are out here, and we're going to call out some of them next. James Golden, Snerdley.
The Rush Hour with James Golden
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
James Golden with you, both Snerdley's Rush Hour. All right. This, I don't even want to describe it. Her name is Sadie, or I guess if you were going to do it, Sade, but Sadie, spelled the same way as Sade. Her name is Sadie Perkins. Apparently, some people are saying she's married to a preacher or a minister or something, but I haven't had time to verify that or not. Doesn't matter, because what she said is what counts. And it only counts because this is just a portion of what is appearing on social media. Just take a listen to this. 6. Cut 6. I already said that.
I know I'm probably going to get canceled for this, but Camp Mystic is a whites-only girls' Christian camp. They don't even have a token Asian. They don't have a token black person. It is a all-white, white-only, conservative Christian camp. If you ain't white, you ain't right, you ain't getting in, you ain't going. Period. And I think that context needs to be said in this matter. It's not to say that we don't want the girls to be found, whatever girls that are missing or whatever right now, but you best believe, especially in today's political climate, if this were a group of Hispanic girls, especially with them being in East Texas, it should be most likely Hispanic. If this were a group of Hispanic girls out there, this would not be getting this type of coverage that they're getting. No one would give a and all these white people, the parents of these little girls, would be saying things like they need to be deported, they shouldn't have been here in the first place, and yada, yada, yada. So before y'all come at me, before y'all start leaving hate comments on my page about, oh, these are just kids and they don't know no better, da, 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 da. The parents of these children who are choosing, and it is a choice in 2025, it is definitely a freaking choice to go into East goddamn Texas and to make a all-white enclave, exclusionary just for white people, with all the black people in East Texas, with all the Hispanic people in East Texas. Somehow, some way, you have carved out an all-white, whites-only enclave in East Texas for your white children. Yeah, I have a problem with that. I have a big problem with that. Once again, this is no shade to the girls. I hope they all get found. But once again, y'all have to understand the climate that we're living in. They want you to have sympathy for these people. They want you to get out of your bed.
That's her name again, Sadie Perkins. Stay right there. We'll be back.
The Rush Hour with James Golden
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
I'm at my new house because now we couldn't afford the trailer. So now I will be moving my family into a storage unit.
Really? That's illegal. It's illegal to do that. It's illegal to do that. You don't live in a storage unit. It's illegal.
So this is what I'll be trying to live in. So I hope you're all happy now. This is what I must live in because of Trump.
Quick and hard.
Wow.
You to everyone in my life who voted for Donald Trump, I hate you. I'm going to lose the health care that literally keeps me alive, and that's your fault. So eat dirt and die, trash.
James Golden, Snerdley. Let's get back to it. That woman that you heard, that disgusting, racist rant came from a woman by the name of Sadie Perkins, or Sadie, depending on how she pronounces her name. She's described as the former market manager of the Freedmen's Town Farmers Market, and also, by the way, a non-resident fellow at Princeton University. She has, subsequent to that vile video, posted another video with herself apparently at a shooting range. And in that one, she says to anyone who thinks it might be a good idea to come to my address, I got a bag of tricks waiting. So there is outrage over those comments that she made. But I'll tell you, they were even worse. And I don't have time to play them all today. I want to get to some other stories today. So I have others that I'm going to play tomorrow. But while we're on the subject of this still, let's go, Carlos, to cut number 4 and listen to another one of these lefties.
I'm just going to do this in one take. If you voted for Trump, you actively voted for those girls in Texas to die being swept away by that flood, because your vote for Trump was also a vote to take away the National Weather Service's funding. And because the National Weather Service doesn't have accurate predictions about when storms are coming, we've had people die during that really terrible tornado in Missouri. We've had these little girls who are missing, most likely dead, from that flood in Texas. And we have a president who says he's shocked that these things happened. Another thing that I've never liked about Republicans is their whole liberals are so sensitive. No, we're empathetic. and empathy is radical. And because you are uncomfortable by that radical empathy, you're experiencing a kind of cognitive dissonance that you are never going to fish yourself out of, because most Trump supporters don't really care to look into the details of what he talks about.
Cut 8. Let's just go with it on a roll.
So let's get this straight, guys. For months, meteorologists, experts, and media outlets warned that Donald Trump's budget cuts to the National Weather Service were reckless, and that slashing funding and gutting staff would directly hurt their ability to predict severe storms, that it would put lives in danger. And now, right on cue, a deadly flood hits Texas, and state officials are turning around and blaming the Weather Service for inaccurate forecast. I mean, are you kidding me? This is what happens when you hollow out public safety in the name of politics and cruelty. The NWS isn't some luxury. It's not a partisan tool. It's the reason families get warnings in time. It's the reason people evacuate. It's the reason kids make it home from school before the storm hits. But Donald Trump's second term has made it crystal clear. If a program protects people and saves lives but doesn't align with his agenda or help his image, he'll gut it, no matter who it hurts. And then, when disaster strikes, just like the experts said it would, they blame the very people that they've undercut. It's scapegoating at its most cowardly. This flood was tragic, but it wasn't just a freak accident of nature, guys. It was a failure of leadership, a predictable consequence of dismantling the very systems designed to keep us safe. If you're more concerned with scoring political points than funding the people who literally track deadly storms for a living, then you are the danger to public safety.
The National Weather Service sent out a series of flash flood warnings in the early hours Friday before issuing flash flood emergencies, a rare alert notifying of imminent danger. The National Weather Service office in New Braunfels, which delivers forecasts for Austin, San Antonio, and the surrounding areas, had extra staffing on duty during the storms. Where the office would typically have 2 forecasters on duty during clear weather, they had up to 5 on staff. There were extra people in here that night. And that's typical in every weather service office. You staff up for an event and bring in people on overtime and hold people over. These liberals, these hateful, self-righteous, obnoxious people have no clue. Not the slightest cute clue what they talk about, but they go to their safe place inside their cars and then do these incredible rants and raves that get pushed out all over social media, regardless of any factual information. They don't have it. Now, it's not just these people who maybe their intellectual acuity might give you, say, a reason to say, all right, we shouldn't expect more. But it's not just the intellectually challenged. A pediatrician in Houston has been fired over a vile post suggesting that the more than 80 people killed in the horrific Texas floods, including dozens of kids, were President Trump supporters who got what they voted for. Houston pediatrician Dr. Christina Probst, first suspended but then later fired. Her employer, Bluefish Pediatrics, initially said she had been suspended before announcing that the individual is no longer employed. As we previously mentioned, we strongly condemn the comments she made. She said, may all visitors' children, non-MAGA voters, and pets be safe and dry. And then she went on to say remarks of the sort that Kerr County MAGA voted to gut FEMA. They deny climate change. May they get what they voted for. Bless their hearts. She's been fired. Pediatrician. But that doesn't stop them. Now, there's other news out here, and we will get back to as much of this as we can. There was a big, heavily armed immigration agents descend on MacArthur Park in Los Angeles. That happened Right up until the show was showtime, we were following that story. Dozens of immigration agents, some on horseback, others carrying rifles and armored vehicles, swept through MacArthur Park in L.A. in an extraordinary show of force at the heart of L.A.'s immigrant community. Heavily armored Border Patrol officers with a fleet of white minibuses partially blocked the streets, blah, blah, blah. Guess who showed up? Karen Bass showed up. Which, this is near downtown L.A. So Karen Bass showed up. She gets on the phone. She's asking the agent, we don't have to from her. That comment was over. She's asking them, she asked them to leave. They didn't leave. And you have people there, one calling this one big perverse publicity stunt. Ron Gochez, member of Unión del Barrio, an independent political organization advocating for immigrants' rights and social justice. It was just a show force. To take pit, really? Bass, the mayor of the town, asked federal immigration agents, she said they needed to leave, and they need to leave now. They need to leave because this is unacceptable. Like they're going to listen to her. She left before they did. So she shows up so she can say, oh, look, I'm doing something. And then she tells the federal agents to leave. They don't leave. Now, other reports as well. Social media people are having a cow over what they think is going to be them losing their welfare, the money that they earn. This is a classic example I wanted to hit from you. This one is spreading also on the social media, and I want to play then a former president to talk about this very thing. Cut 15, Carlos, please, at your will. Yes. Let her rip. Cut. We don't have cut 15.
Everyone telling me, go get a job. Go get a regular job. You're so lazy. Why would I go out and get a job where I have to work when I make more money sitting at home on welfare than you do working 50 hours a week, never there with your kids, always stressed out, always tired, with a college degree? I'm making more than you. And it's your job as a taxpayer to support me and my 6 children anyways. So no, I'm not going to go out and get a job. I get more in food stamps every month than your 2-week paycheck. I get more than over $4,000 a month in food stamps alone. That doesn't include the $2,200 a month in cash benefits I get every month. That doesn't include my Section 8 being paid. So my $1,100 rent, I don't pay. I pay $80 out of $1,100 every month. On top of 7 disability checks, $920 times 7, add it up. That's why I'm not going to go get a regular job.
She's making a bundle, sitting at home, and the hell with you, she's not going to get a job. Now, this comes in line, all these people whining about the work requirements that are part of Medicaid, and she's telling you up front why she's not going to get a job. Why should I work? I'm on welfare. Well, and you have all these people now that are how horrible the Republicans are. They put these work requirements in. You actually had over the weekend Hakeem Jeffries. Hakeem Jeffries had the nerve, the audacity to say that Republicans don't care about Scripture, about what's in the Scriptures, about feeding the hungry and taking care of the thirsty. He actually said it, put it out there, from the party that sees not a problem conducting and advocating mass genocide of human life in the womb. He's going to lecture you on scriptures. From a party that tells you that in the beginning, when God created the earth and created man and woman, that God didn't know what he was talking about, that there were hundreds of genders. From the party that has no problem ignoring every commandment about not engaging in false witness, this guy has the audacity to stand up and tell Republicans that they should learn a thing or two about scripture because they don't want to support and feed the hungry and the thirsty. And now we go back, ladies and gentlemen, in the time machine and listen to a voice that many of you will find familiar. Cut 10, Carlos. That voice is of former President Billy Blue Dress.
What we are trying to do today is to overcome the flaws of the welfare system for the people who are trapped on it. We all know that the typical family on welfare today is very different from the one that welfare was designed to deal with 60 years ago.
Amen.
We all know that there are a lot of good people on welfare who just get off of it in the ordinary course of business, but that a significant number of people are trapped on welfare for a very long time, exiling them from the entire community of work that gives structure to our lives. Nearly 30 years ago, Robert Kennedy said, "Work is the meaning of what this country is all about. We need it as individuals, we need to sense it in our fellow citizens, and we need it as a society and as a people." He was right then, and it's right now. From now on, our nation's answer to this great social challenge will no longer be a never-ending cycle of welfare. It will be the dignity, the power, and the ethic of work. Today we are taking an historic chance to make welfare what it was meant to be, a second chance, not a way of life. The bill I am about to sign, as I have said many times, is far from perfect, but it has come a very long way. Congress sent me 2 previous bills.
Yeah. So he's going to sign the big Welfare Reform Act, and guess what? The system of welfare is still going on. That's what's happening. There's never-ending welfare, and you hear them. And now when people are talking about a work requirement in Medicaid, you would think, my friends, that this is the first time we've ever had this conversation in these United States of America. But it's not.
The Rush Hour with James Golden
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
I am trigender, which means like a triangle, I have 3 genders. Male, female, and non-binary. And the difference between trigender and gender fluid is that I feel all 3 of these genders at the same time. All the time. It doesn't ever shift or change, or where I feel one gender more strongly than the other, like gender fluid tends to be. Also, I should recognize and accept that a lot of people don't see non-binary as a third gender. They see it as something completely separate from the binary of male and female. But for me, it's like a third gender. Or I guess you could call it a third identity.
My friends, on that happy note from the left today, we will leave. May God bless and protect each and every single one of you, your families, and your loved ones. Immense love and gratitude for your being here with me and allowing me to be with you. Prayers up for those suffering from the ravages of the floods. And by the way, it is flooding in North Carolina, too. They have had major rainfall. Until tomorrow, I bid you adieu. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour. You can hear Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour weekdays at 4 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
When you're having a baby,
there's a lot on your mind. At Northwell's Staten Island University Hospital, you can rest easy with our reimagined labor and delivery experience. Our new Grapuso Women and Newborn Center provides private suites, overnight accommodations for a loved one, and a top-level NICU, all powered by the team that cares for the most moms and babies in New York. It's care made for Staten Island and made for you. Visit northwell.edu/newbaby. Staten Island University Hospital. Raise health.
Hello, folks. Larry Kudlow here. Pay attention, because China is leading the largest anti-American alliance since World War II. One that's already dumped U.S. bonds, grabbed 43 million acres of our farmland, and is plotting to dethrone the dollar. That's why IRA and 401k savers are protecting their savings with gold. Please go to freegoldguide.com/Kudlow or just call 800-621-3908 for your free gold guide on how to protect your wealth with gold 100% tax-free.